Spend it on the have-nots. Money, we make it. Before we see it, you take it.
Something very important happened in Memphis, Tennessee over 40 years ago, the sanitation strike of '68. The strike was a very important part of our history at the time, and it still influences the way we live today. Let's take a look at what started this influential movement.
February 1st, 1968, 2 sanitation workers are killed on the job after trying to hide from the rain by getting in the garbage truck. The families were not compensated for the 2 workers' deaths and therefore caused a riot because of the unequal justice. The deaths of the 2 sanitation workers caused a strike that would forever change the way people lived in Memphis. Elmore Nickelberry, the oldest living sanitation worker in Memphis, took part in the strike of '68 and allowed me to speak with him about what it was like during that time.
Mr. Nickelberry, how was life like for you in the '60s?
Life was tough for me during the '60s. It's because I worked for the sanitation department, and it was really rough back then that time.
How do you feel about Dr. King laying his life down in support of the sanitation strike?
I feel pretty bad because he came to Memphis to help the sanitation department and he got killed. I feel very bad about that. When he came to Memphis and marched us, that's having a very good impact on us. I think during the strike helped us Memphis a lot. And young fellas should know about the strike and how we scuffled to get better working conditions and everything like that. And I think today's kids today don't understand that. I think they should be understand what we did for them.
Not only did the strike involve Memphis, but the entire United States. The workers who had went on strike became furious and retaliated, which the news took hold of. Joe Birch with Action News 5 has had the privilege of talking with many people who have been involved with the strike, whether it be from people who marched with Dr. King during the Civil Rights Movement or those who studied the history. I had the honor of hearing what he had to say.
How does it feel being able to cover stories about the sanitation strike 40-some-odd years later?
It's been a privilege to rub elbows with some of the giants of the civil rights movement. It's been a great honor to cover stories there. I covered the 40th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination there, and 2 of his children spoke there. And so that was the biggest event that's happened in the recent past. That was, of course, in 2008.
How does it feel covering stories for Action News 5 that have made an impact on society, like the civil rights issues and the anniversary of the 1968 strike?
How does it feel to cover those things? Well, you know, you feel like you're taking a look at American history when you get to meet the sanitation workers who are still on the job. There are very few sanitation workers who were strikers in 1968 who are still on the job as sanitation workers today.
Finally, the strike came to a stop on April 16, 1968 when the mayor, the ACME leader, and the strikers came to an agreement. This agreement helped bring equal justice upon the people who live in Memphis and still affects us today. Now this brings us to the conclusion of my program, and I hope you have been more enlightened on the sanitation strike of 1968. I'm Randall Davis, and here are a few words from Jeff Johnson of BET.
After King's death in 1968, it sparked not only riots all over the country, but it sparked those like Huey Newton and Bobby Seale and Fred Hampton to move in the creation of the Black Panther Party for self-defense. That signified a new generation of young people creating not only the 10-point plan for the Black Panther Party, but a new way and methodology and ideology of addressing the pains that existed within urban communities all over this country. There are so many things that are being assassinated in our own lives right now. This generation needs to use them as springboards, not just to remember the life of King, but to understand that we have an inherent responsibility to represent our own communities. If we don't do that, we just giving lip service, doing history lessons that have absolutely no impact on affecting what will happen in our communities 40 years from now. Peace.